After a shocking revelation about Fred's estranged wife, Beatrice, and the paternity of his son, Jake, Quinn is presented with an unexpected proposition: become Fred's fake fiancé. Will Quinn and Fred be able to successfully pull off this elaborate charade? What will Denny and Sammy think of the sudden engagement announcement? Is Jake truly Fred's biological son? If not, what will happen when the paternity test results come back? What is the true extent of Beatrice's lies? And how will they impact Fred and his family?
We're getting married. The children shook their heads and laughed in disbelief. It's true, kid, added Quinn, placing her hand over Fred's. As the family shared dinner at the Knight's Table, a medieval performance restaurant inside the Dragon's World amusement park. Really? Asked Jake, overjoyed. Sammy's mouth fell open so wide that her food fell out onto her plate. Mom, Sammy's being gross, yelled Denny. Don't you have anything to say about the engagement? Asked Fred. We knew it would happen, answered the boy matter-of-factly. You held hands on the roller coaster. Fred laughed nervously and cleared his throat. The children had no idea that the engagement was actually a ruse that he and Quinn had agreed to, in order to keep his medical condition a secret. He would need a doctor near him all the time, and this was the best way to accomplish that. It embarrassed him a bit that they'd noticed him on the coaster, placing his hand over hers. I gotta go to the bathroom, said Jake. I'll go too, said Denny, before they could meet with much resistance. They absconded to the bathroom and switched shirts with each other. Easy peasy, said Denny, shaking Jake's hand. As the boys returned to the table, Sammy pointed at her mother's hand and squealed. That's the biggest, most sparkly ring I've ever seen. Is it a real diamond? And will you wear a great big white dress? And can I be the flower girl? And will everyone give us presents? Settle down, sweetie, laughed Quinn. It's too early to figure out everything about the wedding this soon. There are a lot of things that need to happen first. And he only just asked me this afternoon. Jake's eyes were tearful with joy. You really will be my mom. For real. That was my wish. That's the rule. That won't change just because we're going to have more money. Can we still go to school? Asked Denny. It's no fun staying home and having lessons from Mrs. Robin. Jake immediately kicked Denny under the table to remind him that their parents still knew nothing about the period of time that the boys had switched places. Jake told me, finished Denny, picking up his oversized roast turkey leg and hoping that this covered his mistake. Maybe someday the boys would tell their parents about that time when they switched, and it would be funny to them. But the children weren't going to tell them. At least, not yet. We're figuring out what to do about that, said Fred. I agree, now that there are 3 of you involved, That's too much for one teacher to teach at home all at once. So whatever happens, you will be actually going to school. The children cheered and gave each other high fives as a juggler and a lute player strolled past the table. We just need to choose the right one, because things are different once you are the children of a CEO. You can't just go to any old school. It has to be a safer one where nobody will try to bother you.
As long as it has a ballet class, I don't care, interjected Sammy.
My lords and ladies, boomed the man in the center of the room dressed as King Henry VIII. Among us here tonight, we have a couple who is newly betrothed. Let us congratulate them. Damn it, Lance. Fred laughed and shook his head, realizing that his assistant had called ahead. The guy thinks of everything. Everyone in the room burst out into cheers and applause as the spotlight shone on Fred and Quinn. From the back of the room, a procession started making its way through the restaurant to the table where Fred and Quinn sat with the children. First came two acrobats, tumbling their way across the room. Then came a pair of ladies dressed as courtiers, throwing rose petals on the ground. Next came the lute player, who had just passed the table earlier, holding a rose in his teeth. Behind him, a chef carried a tall cake with a king and queen on top, with brightly lit sparklers decorating it all around, which were spewing colored sparks everywhere. Seemingly, out of nowhere, a set of madrigal singers surrounded Fred and Quinn, and a photographer snuck up to capture the entire event. Dearly wedded they shall be, sang the madrigals, bride and groom so happily. Come and sing a joyful song, that they be joined their whole life long. The singers drew out the last note for a long time as the chef put the cake in the center of Fred and Quinn's table. Wow, thought Quinn. This place really does know how to make occasions special. If I were really engaged, I'd be so touched. The lute player removed the rose from his teeth and offered it to Quinn, as the fake King Henry took the microphone again. And now, by order of the king, he began dramatically, Fred Smith and Quinn Murphy, I hereby decree that you kiss to demonstrate your love and affection. Fred blushed deeply as the audience all began tapping their spoons to their glasses and chanting, kiss, kiss, kiss.
The sparklers crackled, the music swelled, and the crowd roared its approval. Fred held Quinn a little longer than necessary, a strange thrill coursing through him. He hadn't expected that. He hadn't expected to feel that. Quinn, meanwhile, was utterly speechless. The spotlight, the music, the cheering crowd, it was all a bit much for Quinn. She glanced at Fred, his face a mixture of amusement and mortification. This charade was getting out of hand. Are they going to give in to the pressure and kiss? How will the children react? Will Fred and Quinn ever love each other, or will it always remain an act?
Hey, I'm Jenny. If you're wondering what happens next, download the Pocket FM app now and listen to the exciting episodes of A Mother's Battle.